Hi-ho, this is Kermit the Frog, and you're listening to a brand new episode of the 12A podcast brought to you by the Four-Eyed Radio Network. Yay! If you would like to check out more shows, go to foureyeradio.com. Yay!
Hey listeners, Eric here, also known as Trekkie B47, from the Starfleet Escape podcast and the Ranger Command Power Hour. The more phenomenal episode you're about to listen to is brought to you by Raven Designs, illustration and design that fit your personality. For samples and inquiries, visit ravencruise.com.
Hey everyone, I'm coming to you live from Voxer. Have you ever tried the Voxer app? It's free, and it really helps you keep in touch with your friends and family at your convenience. Anyway, again, it's Carly. I am not going to be joining the podcast today as I am vacationing in Montana. But boys, good luck keeping it up tonight.
Welcome to the 12A podcast, where you're going to learn about movies, entertainment, and a lot of other cool stuff. And now, here are two guys who are two guys tonight. No women.
Yeah.
Just like old times.
Yeah.
Jeff
Hey.
and Steve.
Thank you. All right.
It's kind of nice. I mean,
It's like old times.
I don't know if Carly's going to listen to this, so maybe we shouldn't say anything mean about her, but yeah. First off, does she say what I think she said?
Oh, yeah.
I heard it too.
Yeah.
I hope you guys don't have a hard time keeping it up.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
We'll keep
I
it
don't
up.
know if that was
Listen.
intentional or a Freudian slip. However,
Oh, no.
we
this,
all picked up on it.
This is Carly.
This is Carly.
Yeah.
She
we know.
meant to say what she said.
Yeah.
It's all right. Anyway, so it's Jeff and Steve again.
Yeah.
All right. We're just hanging
And
out
Sam.
again, and we streamed stuff, and, it's going to I don't know. It's going to be a lot of the same stuff, I'll be honest. I mean, I stream stuff. We've got Second Base. We do have obsessions, though,
Right.
which will be interesting because I have my obsession and I have Carly's obsession.
How are we going to vote on that one?
I'm going to do really poorly on hers, so
Okay,
mine
so
sounds
you're gonna
better.
win?
You have a
I'm
really
gonna
bad
win.
presentation.
I'm a
right.
shoe-in.
I got it.
All right, Jeff, welcome back from Hawaii.
Thank you.
Yes. Was that your first time ever being to Hawaii?
No, it was my first time in Maui.
Okay.
But I'd been to Kauai and Oahu, I think, before, yeah. So
Nice. Enjoyed, though? I saw a couple of good selfie pictures on the beach. So
yeah, so that was fun. The other thing I'm excited to look at, I brought our GoPro with us with the underwater housing, and so I jumped underwater, and I was like snorkeling, saw some fish, saw like a big turtle, got some Loch Ness monster type shots of like the shadow of the turtle. So
That's a good
I'm
footage.
excited to pull those in and kind of see how it looks.
Cool. So you actually got some good underwater usage of the thing then, and you had the right
Yeah.
waterproof case on it then, right?
Yeah,
Okay. good.
yeah. And I was very careful to kind of look to see if there's bubbles or anything getting underneath the casing. So, I actually did some professional work while I was there out on the beach.
Hey, we got to test out the equipment, and what better way than snorkeling in Maui? So
Yeah, and I actually have some interesting stuff to talk about on our what we streamed because I watched some stuff in Hawaii. So
Oh, okay, interesting. Well, and Sammy's got apparently a really good documentary.
I do.
I hear. So
Yeah.
this is something you stream. Like, give us some general like. I know you said it's going to take like 10 or 15 minutes, but
just
like,
tease us.
Tease
The
us. on this
teaser
documentary.
is music, death, resurrection.
Interesting.
Okay.
So Jesus Christ had a band.
Is this a striper?
No.
Striper?
No.
Rock and roll?
No.
Okay.
No.
Dang,
No.
man. Okay.
Great story.
Okay.
Okay, great story. So,
Cool. All right, looking forward to it. Well, let's jump into some streaming since I'm curious what you streamed in Hawaii. You had this look on your face like,
Okay.
so.
So, two things. First of all, it's a long flight there.
Yes.
So my long flight there, they actually had like in the head of the seat in front of you, you can like pick from like a plethora of movies to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen those types of things in the past, but they've always been like you have to pay like $20 to rent it, the service or whatever. But this was like just free. Like just punch in the movie, whatever you want. So I watched Noah, The Grand Budapest Hotel, and I almost finished Bad Words. And in fact, we were we were going along the island of Maui, going into land, and Shereen was really excited looking through the window at the island, and I was trying to finish the movie. And I had to force myself to stop watching the movie so I could actually enjoy God's beautiful island, like the thing I can only see once, as opposed to the movie I can go and rent for $1 down the street.
Rent again. What was your verdict on Noah? I haven't heard anything good. Whether you looked at it from just like a biblical standpoint or like just a sci-fi or a fantasy standpoint.
Yeah, just from a story, entertainment and story structure standpoint, I was disappointed.
That's what I hear. Yeah.
Like it started off really sort of dry, flat. It kind of, I don't want to say preachy, but something like that. But kind of like stereotypical, I think. You sort of see the beats of it, and you're like, all right. And then they start doing some interesting things, and you're like, okay, this could be good. Mm-hmm. So you sort of give it a chance for a little bit, and then it just never... The big thing is once a flood goes, they kind of take the Noah character, and they take him on this dark turn, and they never really resolve the character, in my opinion, and... So I did not enjoy. Yeah, I gave it its best shot, but I just wasn't a fan.
Its best shot. You were stuck in an airplane and having to watch it.
Yeah,
that's his best shot.
Yeah, I like some of the mythical, like even some of the like the mythical stuff that they made up and put in it was kind of cool. It is cool, kind of sci-fi element. Like even that was kind of cool, but it wasn't enough to.
No. Now, bad words.
I got to finish it because I only got like halfway through, but I was loving it. I was having a good time with it. Yeah.
I tell you what, that
really
is
irreverent.
Probably one of my favorite Jason Batemans right now.
Yeah.
It was so good. That was one movie I saw in the theater with Tiffany, and we were just dying in that movie. And it actually has a decent little twist thing at the end. So have you been at the part where he's doing stuff with the kid that he's in competition with, that they're in a hotel room next to each other? Or
Yeah, so I'm at the point where they just had their falling out.
Okay. All right, great. So you said, well, they're like going through the grocery store and just all the random, like the montage of stuff they're doing. It's so good.
Well, I love when they're having their falling out, and he's like, "No, you're really my friend. You showed me my first boobs." Yeah, it's just really irreverent, and then just of course whatever he curses or says something inappropriate to the kids.
Because it's a room full of kids that are doing a spelling bee, and he's this adult. So it's just putting it in that situation just makes it that funny. So I loved that movie. Yeah.
And I mean, it's got this good hook, right? That it's just really inappropriate. And it's all about this guy saying all these terrible things to kids that he's not supposed to say. But it's got a really good hook to it, and the story's good, and the characters grabbed me. So, like, in terms of wanting to see where the movie goes, and when I'm stuck halfway through, I'm really hooked in the actual story. So it's not just a gimmick.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
so speaking of irreverence,
okay.
I need you to talk, Steve, because I was a poor soundman on the setup, and I need to adjust Jeff's mic.
What? Yeah.
Uh-oh.
We had this mic check before.
You're talking before, but I'm hearing pops, and it's really annoying me. And it's my fault. And so,
which is funny because
I'm doing the irreverent thing by interrupting and having Steve talk, so I can go Jeff's
People,
mic.
Just so you know, this is a live recording.
This
you
is live.
Don't hear it live, but we don't edit this thing. So now you know. All right. So you want me to keep talking?
So you talk. I'm gonna mute Jeff's mic. I'm gonna go adjust it, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna mute his mic.
All right. Well, I'll list off the movies I streamed while he's adjusting me, and eventually it'll be good. Okay.
Thank you.
I did finally watch that Fire with Fire movie with that I wanted Tiffany to see. And it was okay. I can understand why. I don't understand why it was straight to DVD because, I mean, it was a big enough budget. It could have been in a theater. But then I also have been streaming a lot of 80s stuff, and I don't know how much. I mean, Jeff currently is wearing a General Lee T-shirt right now, so obviously we're in an 80s mood this month, so we'll talk some more about that later. I streamed the beginning of New York, I Love You, which is a 2008 movie. It was one of those ensemble casts, and it's all kinds of stories of how you fall in love in the big city. And we're talking like huge cast, and there's tons of writing credits, but Hayden Christensen, Andy Garcia, Natalie Portman, Orlando Bloom, Christina Ricci, Ethan Hawke, Robin White, all these huge people. I couldn't get halfway through this movie, though.
Why is that?
I've seen a couple of them, but like the stories were just so discombobulated. And I know that it's all about the different stories and how people randomly are interacting and falling in love or out of love or anything like that.
Right.
But I just was not hooked or entertained with any of the characters. The only character that did hook me was Ethan Hawke's character, but I just wasn't. I couldn't. So it's actually still like halfway streamed on my Netflix queue. I just stopped streaming it. So that was that on that one.
So Natalie Portman actually directed her segment. That's interesting.
In that, yeah.
I was just looking up. Brett Ratner did a segment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody did like their own little. There's 12 directors or something like that.
Yeah. Huh.
So a ton of, So and maybe I don't know. It was too discombobulated for me, and you could tell that they all directed their own segments, and then in the editing room, that segment was pieced across this whole entire movie in different little chunks and stuff for you to consume. But maybe I'll force myself to see it. I don't know. I'm currently sitting through an indie movie that I'll be talking about on the next podcast, but it's one of those movies that everything I've read about it says you have to force yourself to sit through the first 20 or 30 minutes because you're going to be extremely confused, but it's an amazing movie. And so I just finished this first 40 minutes, and I'm like, I got to take a break, just because of this. So,
wow.
So that's my teaser for the next movie. But then I also finished up season 6 of Supernatural, watched some more legit. I have 2 really dark drama movies that I'm throwing into second base because they might get somebody to second base, but I streamed those. And then, oh my God, the We're Alive season finale.
Oh, I saw you post about that.
I teared up at 23 minutes into this, and it wrapped up exactly like I wanted it to, exactly like I said I wanted it to on this podcast a month ago.
Nice.
Yeah, it was so well done, in fact, that I'm very tempted to re-listen to the whole entire thing now.
Wow.
It was just great. I am so happy. It was an hour and 13 minutes. They just did one long, usually they're 20-minute episodes, and they're in 3-parters. It was just one full hour, 13-minute long final episode. The great characters you love have already died, some of them, but then the last couple that do, and then I don't want to give anything away because I know that Jeff just started it and Sammy's, still got a couple seasons to go. But
no, I just started a different one, and so now I kind of got to get through that before I can move on to one. But it's so long to get through a series for me.
Mm-hmm. Which one did you start
I started
on?
the Leviathan Chronicles.
Oh man, is that not so entertaining? I wish they had more episodes out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it takes me a while to get through them, anyways, and So how long is that one?
We're Alive?
We're Alive, yeah.
It's 48 episodes.
Yeah.
And how long is an episode?
An hour. Because it's 48, and then it's one is part 1, part 2, part 3, and they're all 20 to 30 minutes ish. I mean, the season finales are a little bit longer.
Okay.
I think they had a 40-minute one, 2 once. So.
They cut them up into small chunks for your listening pleasure.
That's what made it easy was because a chapter was pretty much my drive to work plus a few minutes while I was in my office.
Yeah,
so,
they do.
That's
they did a great job.
The tough thing about Leviathan Chronicles is one episode's up to an hour, and so I kind of got to split it between 2 different drives or something.
Right.
Yeah, but no, so it's great. But yeah, so it's 48. So I mean, it's 50+ hours worth of sheer entertainment.
Right.
They did such an amazing audio
They
job
do.
of that editing.
They did.
Really, really do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have hopes and dreams to aspire to. As soon as we finish up this script we're writing right now. So.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
We are getting there. Yeah, we're very excited about that project. So that's my most exciting thing was an audio drama. Actually, that was my most turned on, exciting thing of all of my stuff. I did watch the movie Lucy in the theaters with Scarlett Johansson.
Is that good?
Scarlett Johansson.
Does it live up to the hype?
Yeah, it does.
Really? Okay, good.
In the end, I was like, oh, I don't want that to be a thumb drive. It was a thumb drive. Damn it, why do you always have to put all the data on a thumb drive? It needed to be something more futuristic or something more, molecular or something like that with it. But it was great. And actually, it's Scarlett Johansson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. She does great. As soon as the drugs hit and she starts using more and more of her brain, she becomes this emotional being because everything's very scientific now, and emotions, she becomes less human, and she realizes that, and she even tells that to the other guy in it, and but she does just a great job at being that person. And the last thing I saw her in was Don John, where she's just Jersey girl, totally different character. So it was actually a pretty good job. And she may or may not be my obsession this week. I don't know. So
One way to find out.
One way to find out. But there you go. That's it. The legit TV show, that comic one, I'm 4 episodes into it. still just as funny.
Yeah.
I am going to get you, so we're halfway through like season 7 of Supernatural. There are 3 different episodes, and one of them I want you to watch, Jeff. Every season, they do an episode that's an out of the ordinary one. And I think it was season 3, they do an episode that's all in black and white, and it's a homage to the old Dracula movies. But they're hunting down, but it's completely in black and white. They even do the changing up the opening credits and everything, and the sound and audio. It all is like, an old black and white type of movie.
I think I saw part of that on TV. I was flipping through and I had to stop. I think it was like a 1940s film noir one.
Yeah, it's very much so what it looked
okay.
like, yeah. So they do that a lot, but they had this one, too, in the last season where they go through this, like, time portal thing, and they end up in the real world, like here, on a set of their TV show.
Ah.
And it's so great because they're there, and everybody calls them by their real actors' names, Jared and whatever and stuff. And, they go, one guy, it's not his real house, but it's his real wife, one of the actors. And then the guy who plays an angel, he's there, and he's working on his lines. And he tweets all the time, apparently, in real life. And so they make fun of that on this episode. I mean, it's there, and it's the real, like, producer. It's a lot of the real crew and everything. And the whole episode's how they're trying to get back into what their reality is, where they hunt these demons. And, so they have a lot of fun with it. But, yeah, the black and white one, I thought, man, Jeff really, really should watch this one. It was a very fun episode.
So is this more of a funny, or is it adventure? Is it action? Is it drama?
It's funny adventure.
Funny adventure.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Like the Dean and Sam are 2 brothers, and they're traveling around in this old Impala, and it's what their dad raised them to do since they were little kids because their mom died because of a demon. Their mother did this, their grandfather did this, and they hunt the bad things that go bump in the night, And so it's everything from zombies to demons to whatever that the people don't ever really know about, but they do, and they know how to fight them. And eventually they find out that angels are real, and there's an angel that starts helping them, and eventually they have to stop the apocalypse from happening because they accidentally started it. But Dean's character is great in it. Dean is the older brother, and he's just a really funny guy, and their banter back and forth. So it's a fun show, but yeah, lots of adventure and stuff. I'm totally hooked. It's just entertaining. The music is awesome. There is a playlist on Spotify that's it's called Dean's Music from Supernatural, and it's all this great, like, 70s and 80s music, like rock and stuff like that he listens to in his Impala, which he has a tape deck in that he's always listening to music on, like Kansas and stuff like that. So, yeah, totally hooked on the show. I think you'd like it too, but yeah, it's 9 seasons now. I think they're starting up their 10th season in this show.
Wow, so it's still going?
Still going.
Oh,
yep.
Nice.
Yeah. So there you go. That's all of my that's all my streaming. I got some second base for tonight. I've got some obsessions, obviously. Do you have a film history for us, or?
I have something that we can get to.
Oh, okay. All right. Beautiful. Do we want to hear about this?
Yeah, let's hear about this documentary.
This thing about resurrection and rock and roll. I don't know. Is our audio good?
Yes.
Okay, we're good now.
I'm happier with it.
All right, we're happier with it. Beautiful.
My fault. I'll just admit it. Okay, so on Amazon Prime and on Netflix, there is a documentary, and it's called A Band Called Death. Now, I'm going to try and cut this down to 10 or 15 minutes, so there's a lot I have to skip over.
Okay.
So just be aware that one of the great things I like about documentaries is there's a lot of little nuanced things that add up to make it more than what it seems. And there's a lot of little things in this documentary that I'm going to have to skip over due to time constraints that sort of make it more than what I'm going to say. But I'm really excited about this. I think I've watched it about 3 or 4 times.
Are you serious?
Already.
Wow.
Like in the past month?
Like in the past week and a half.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Huh. Because there's little things I wanted to pick up. So back in the early 70s, there was 3 African-American brothers who formed a band, and I'm not being racist, they were actually brothers. Okay. They formed a band that was a funk band at the time. They were in Detroit. And one of the older brother went to a Who concert, and he came back and he goes, okay, we have to change and we have to become rock musicians. All right. So think about this. There's a band in the 70s, early 70s, 3 African-American dudes playing rock music, this is in the middle of Motown.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you should be doing Motown. And they have a band name called Death.
Death.
Right?
This is hardcore.
Now, the band was named Death because their father was killed in an automobile accident by a drunk driver. So they were a very spiritual family, and the older brother wanted to use that sort of as a theme to talk to people about death and sort of what it means and how you cope with it and all of that kind of stuff. So he had this whole thing going on with death that he wanted to sort of theme in with his music. And so the name was very important to them, right? They didn't want to change the name Death. So they have strikes against them to start off with because they're black brothers playing what would eventually become punk music in the 70s in Detroit, and they got a band named Death, right? So they eventually get a recording contract, okay, and they record 7 songs in the studio. And the studio tries to push them out to the labels and stuff like that and promote them to the labels. And the labels don't want to have anything to do with them. And they basically say the name Death is not commercial. If you want to change your name, we'll talk, but we're not going to do anything with this Death, right? Because you can't promote it. The older brother says, no, I'm not changing the name because I'm honoring my father and what his life represented and everything by this band named Death. Right. So the studio that they recorded at released them from their contract, and the older brother basically said, well, at least give me the master recordings, so I'll have them. Right. So the recording studio gave them the master recordings. Okay, so they go out and this is back in the early 70s, remember, they took the master recordings and they made 500 copies of a 7-inch vinyl record. 2 songs were on there, side A, side B. And they tried to promote themselves. And it didn't work out, right? Because they're putting posters up about death, and the cops are like, you guys are in a gang. And he's like, no, it's music. And so they tried to promote themselves, and it didn't work.
Wow.
So they've been trying to do this for a while. They were frustrated. So they have a relative that lives in New England. So they go to New England, and he says, come and just clear your head and stay a while and whatever. So they go to New England, and they love it, and they don't want to leave. So they stay there, and they try to promote their band Death in New England now, and it doesn't go anywhere. So he said, basically, they decided we're gonna change things up. We're gonna make a new band, and we're gonna call it. It's gonna be a gospel rock band called the Fourth Movement, right? Well, it's not Death, so they don't have to worry about people looking at them funny when they talk about their band name.
Right.
So they go and they play shows, and the people show up, and this writer comes there, a reviewer, and he basically writes this scathing review that says, you know, preaching doesn't belong in rock and roll music. It belongs in the pulpit, and it's a really scathing review. So these guys are really disappointed because they've dealt with all this rejection from their color, from the style of music that they play, from their band name, and now they switched it up, and now they're getting berated because they're having a positive or a Christian message or whatever in the rock and roll, right?
Oh,
so
they just can't win.
They can't win, right? So the older brother decides, I'm going to go back to Michigan. I've had enough. He gets homesick. The 2 other brothers stay there. One of them has a wife already, and so they don't want to just uproot and sort of leave, right?
Right.
So the 2 brothers that are in New England keep practicing because they think at some point older brother's going to come back and we're going to start this thing up again. Mm-hmm. Time goes on, and they get to realize the older brother isn't going to come over here and do this. So they say, you know, one of them's a drummer, one of them's a bass player, and it's like, we got to do something. And what can you do with the drums and a bass? And they're like, well, reggae music. Reggae music has a lot of drums and a lot of bass, so they start a reggae band. And they call themselves Lambsbread. Lambsbread,
okay.
So they have some moderate success, and they start having families and their kids and stuff like that. And so fast forward to like the year 2000 now, right?
Okay.
And the older brother comes down with lung cancer.
Oh, no.
The one who had gone back to Detroit.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And he, before he dies, I mean, it's a real aggressive lung cancer. He's not going to make it. Before he dies, he takes the master recording and he gives it to his younger brother. And he says, one day the world's going to come looking for this music, and I know you'll have it. So the younger brother takes it, puts it up into his attic, in a safe place and kind of just forgets about it over time. So now the kids grow up and they start to have their own musical interests and they start their own band. Now, they only know their fathers as reggae musicians. They never tell their kids about this punk band that they were in the 70s. Called Death. So the kids start up their own stuff, and one of the kids goes to California for a while because he just wants to hang out with some friends. Mm-hmm. A friend that he knows goes to this underground party where a DJ is playing old music from people that are niche, right? That people don't know anything about.
Right.
Mm-hmm. She comes back and she's raving about this band named Death, and she can't say enough about it. So the son, who doesn't know anything about it, gets online and he starts looking up something about this band named Death. And there's not a whole lot on there, but he finds 2 MP3s that are up on this website. They were ripped from the vinyl that was printed back in the 70s, and he starts listening to it, and he starts freaking out because he knows his dad's voice. Oh. He can tell that is his dad on those recordings, and he calls him up and he goes, "Dad, were you in a punk band in the 70s named Death, and you play these 2 songs?" And the dad, he's not expecting this call, and so he's like, yeah, that's us. And the kid's like, "Why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you, he's going crazy, right?" So he calls his brother and he goes, "Dude, you got to listen to this music. This is Dad and our 2 uncles and this amazing punk music." And so now his brother starts listening to it, and it's funny how he describes it because he says, "When I started listening," he said, "the hair on the back of my neck stood up, and I just felt this is unbelievable because here's my dad playing this music that I knew nothing about. Nobody knows about this band.
Right.
And it's some of the best punk music I've ever heard." Right? So he starts calling all of his friends. Well, one of his friends has a blog, and he's pretty active in the forums. And so the son is talking to his dad and getting information about the history. He tells this guy writes it up on the internet, and all of a sudden it starts going everywhere on the internet. Well, now these record collectors are hearing about this story, and they go, "Hey, there's only 500 copies of these things. They're pretty rare. Right. And the songs that they have on the internet are pretty awesome. I want to find this
copy of this
original." And they're selling for like $800 on eBay and stuff like that, right? So they're very popular. Well, as it turns out, the son's bands, when they go out and they play, they start covering the songs that their dad and their uncles were singing in their band. And so this record collector hears about this, and he eventually contacts one of the boys in the band, one of the sons, and he says, "Hey, I've heard these 2 songs. I got the album. What's the story about this? Is there more stuff?" So the son goes to his dad and says, "Dad, please tell me you have some original recordings or something like that." And the dad goes, "Well, yeah, I got the master recording up in the attic. It's been sitting up there since 1970 whatever. And we got 7 songs on there." So he tells this record collector, and this record collector has connections with a label called Dragon City Records. Dragon City Records calls the dad, and they say, "We want to reissue your 2-song vinyl, but by chance, are there other songs that you have? Do you have an album?" "Yeah, we got this thing that's been up in the attic for all this time." So the story is Dragon City Records now reissues these 7 songs that nobody has heard for 35 years. And the brother who said one day the world's going to come looking for this music was right on, because now people are looking for it. Record collectors are looking for it. The sons are playing the music in the band. They're covering these songs. There's new music out there, like the new LP, right? Mm-hmm. And so what happens is now the way the documentary came to be is that the director of the documentary was in a band in the 90s, and he played this music festival with Lamb's Bread, who were the 2 brothers who were doing the reggae stuff. So he got to know him that way. And then he went to a show, one of the Sun shows, and he saw them covering their dad's song, and he didn't know that his dad played that kind of stuff because he just knew him as a reggae artist, right?
Yeah.
So he starts freaking out, and he goes, what's the story behind all of this? Right? So now the two brothers who are still alive are telling this guy the story, and this New York Times writer goes to one of the shows, and he writes this really awesome article in the New York Times, and he says, this was punk before punk was punk. And he says, these guys are amazing, and nobody knows about them. I mean, it was always the Ramones or somebody like that, right, who sort of was who brought the punk scene to light, right? But these guys were several years before the Ramones even. And nobody knows about them.
Nobody had no clue about them.
And nobody knows them. So he says, we have to do a documentary. So the documentary comes out in like 2012 in the film festivals and does really well there. And then they release it in 2013. And then I see it up on Netflix. And so I immediately go out and I buy the album after I watch this documentary because I'm just blown away by this story.
Okay.
Right? So here's the thing. If you love punk music or if you love rock music at all, I think you have to watch this documentary because it's great. This music is unbelievable from these guys. You play it now and it stands up against anything. And this was three black dudes in the 70s.
40 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you love a great story about a family sticking together through all this up and down and through death and through, trying to push this, having this vision and have it just fall apart. And then this is where the resurrection comes to me because this music came back, right? And now they're getting the recognition they deserve, even though it's bittersweet because their older brother is not here to see it.
Right.
But yet still people are like, this is unbelievable music.
Yeah.
So if you like a story about a great family and these characters are unbelievable, you need to watch this.
Just the fact that you've watched it 3 or 4 times in the last 2 weeks,
I know.
that sells it alone for me.
Did we get the name of this yet?
It's a band called Death.
A band called Death.
Oh, that's the name of the documentary.
That's the name of the documentary.
A band called
If
Death.
you love just a great story, you should watch this documentary just for a great story.
Okay.
And I will say it's 90 minutes long. The first 60 minutes are like a trip down memory lane, so it's a little bit slow, but they're setting, and then the last 30 minutes is where everything starts to happen for them. And I don't know, I was just, I was rooting for these guys so bad because of all the stuff that happened to them in the beginning and the fluky way in which their music's being played at this underground party and it starts everything.
Yeah.
And you're like, how the crap...
And
I mean, it's just amazing. And it's the kids, and it's just the way things intertwine with one another. It just blew me away.
That's cool.
And these guys aren't, they're not cocky or anything. You just root for them. You want them to win, and in the end, they win. They're actually touring now. They got a new guitarist, and that's a whole amazing story in the documentary, too. But it's just like one of those things where you get done watching and you feel good.
Wow.
Because you see a lot of bad things in this world, and here's something where people went through some terrible things, and in the end, they win.
They win.
Right? In the end, something good happens to them. So anyway, it was, it was punk. And nobody was playing that music at that time, and these 3 black dudes in the middle of Motown were kind of, I think they were pioneers, really. Wow. My personal opinion of it is they were pioneers.
The first thing I'm going to do is, before I even watch the documentary, I'm going to find some music and listen to it.
Yeah, it's up on Amazon. I went and bought it.
I'll see if I find it on Amazon or Google Play or Spotify or something.
And I was thinking about this. It's like, does the music mean more to me now because I saw the documentary? And I imagine it would. It would. But the music by itself is really good.
See, and that's why I want to listen to the music first, because you said that. You said that it stands up on its own, right?
I think it stands up.
Well, okay, because it sounds like such an awesome story. I know I'm going to get emotionally attached to like these brothers. I love that bond of family type of thing.
Oh, it's awesome.
And the fact that they totally failed.
Yeah,
500
exactly.
records, totally failed, nothing from it, moved on to this, and that, and here they are with kids and grandkids, who knows by now, and stuff, and then all of a sudden they're back, and people are saying these guys were the, kings.
They were awesome.
Yeah.
They
didn't even
they
know
weren't
it.
they were the only black people that I know playing punk music at that time.
I'm
and it was like 73, 74, 75. So, I mean, you listen to this music and I go, I listened to it on the way over here, actually, because I thought I might be able to talk about this. And I'm like, this stuff just sounds so good.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's 40 years, whatever, 35
That's
or 40 years ago, and I go,
mind-blowing, yeah.
wow, and yeah, the recording techniques have changed, but the energy and the punkness of the music is like,
still
whoa,
there.
that is awesome.
Very cool, Sammy. Very
Yeah.
cool.
So highly recommended.
All right.
I hope.
Is this some of the music, Sam? I'm playing here.
Oh, yes, it is. This is Rock and Roll Victim.
Is it?
Yeah.
I can't hear it. All right.
Oh no, this is
Politicians
in My Eye. Yes.
Okay, so you're familiar with all the songs
Yes.
now, right? Okay.
The number one music game is when they think I'm a fame. It's like a race at the top because they want to be boss. They don't care who they step on as long as they get along. Politicians in my eyes.
I am totally going to get into this. This is great.
It's good stuff. Yeah, Politicians in My Eye and Keep on Knocking were the two on the disc that they played.
Oh, okay.
All right. Okay, this is going to have to happen. We're going
Yeah,
to
it's-
we are going to continue this revival on.
Yes, it's awesome.
And what did you stream this on?
It's on
Well,
Amazon
Netflix
Prime or
is the,
Netflix. It's on
yeah.
both.
It's on
Netflix and Amazon
Netflix
Prime.
and
and Amazon
Okay.
Prime.
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah, the documentary. Oh, that was good. Oh man, I'm gonna totally have to
I
find that
know.
music now. That I liked just that little tidbit. So,
It was
awesome, Sammy. All right, well, if you ever have a good documentary like that with music, you are allowed to talk for 10 or 15
Okay.
minutes. I'm okay with this.
I know I went long, so I apologize, but I
No,
hope it
that's
was.
all right.
I hope it was an
That's a
interesting.
good story.
That was.
It is. I mean, like I said, I didn't really do it justice because there's a lot of little things in there that I had to leave out. That when you watch it, hopefully you'll go, "Oh, that's even cooler."
Nice.
You know.
Yeah, well, in the very beginning of your story, I kept thinking you were going to stop and go, and that's where Jimi Hendrix started, or something like that, right? I wasn't
Right.
expecting just kind of this cool, awesome family
Right.
story.
Right.
Tie in with the kids. And
Yeah.
everything else, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
It's-
Yeah, the
it's a
time
really
with the
good story.
kids. I mean, so like the way they picked who they were going to call for the recording session, the guy basically nailed the yellow pages on the wall and opened it up. Back then they had like the recording studios or whatever. He nailed it on the wall. He got back 10 feet or so and he took a dart and he threw it at the yellow pages and he's like, that's who we're going to call. And there's just a lot of little stories like that where you go, what the
This is
heck?
most
How did he-"
random.
I know. And so it's like, you just root for him.
Cool.
You know.
Way cool.
Yeah.
So that we don't get the crap kicked out of us by Carly, I'm going to read the 3 things she sent me that she streamed for you or watched.
Okay.
One of them is the movie Lucy, and I've got quick sentences for all of these. The movie Lucy, fun and exciting film, action-packed from beginning to end, makes you think about things which scare you and excite you all at the same time, shorter than I thought in the overall length of the film,
Okay.
but still entertaining through and through. Scarlett, once again, does a great job. The other movie, The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug. I'm always impressed by the darkness of the film. Reminds me of Gotham City. The coloring always has green and browns and golds. It's quite beautiful all in itself. The story is deep and hard to follow. If you've read the books, it certainly makes it easier to follow it. I'm also partial to the voice of the dragon, Cumberbatch.
Benedict.
Have I mentioned that Carly Cumberbatch just sounds so catchy? And the last thing that she did streaming on, The Witches of West End. So yes, I'll admit it, I like a Lifetime channel show, and it's about witches. I know, make fun of me now. To add to the poking fun at me, add the fact that Tatum Channing's wife is one of the main witches.
Huh.
It's a fun female-empowered show about 2 sisters who are witches and raised by their aunt and mother who are also witches. They live amongst humans, and it's just their family drama mixed in with humans living in a human-filled world. It's entertaining, to say the least. So that sounds like her little quiet obsession. So yes.
Yeah.
That does not sound like a Carly type show. You know, there's no like historical anything element to it or something like that. So,
Right.
Anyways, where do you want to go from here? Film history, obsession, second base.
Let's do Obsessions. How
All
about
right.
that? Yeah.
Let's do that.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that we have
You
music
know,
for the. Yeah.
somebody has to hit the play button again. Live recording.
Yeah,
Here we go.
So soothing. I want to take a nap.
Here I am again.
Such a contrast from the punk music we just played.
A little bit. All right, I've got both my obsession and Carly's for you.
All right.
We're going to start with Carly's obsessions. Wes Anderson is again her obsession this week.
Not bad.
Here are some interesting facts. During the filming of the Royal Tenenbaums, the Hawk, Mordecai, was kidnapped and held for ransom.
What?
So they had to use a second Hawk. They still do not know where the original Mordecai and the captors are.
Oh my gosh.
Bottle Rocket is Martin Scorsese's favorite movie of the 90s.
Huh.
Several of Wes Anderson's movie sets exist in real life. You can visit many of these locations. The Royal Tenenbaums exists in Harlem on West 144th Street and Covent Avenue. For The Life Aquatic, the theme song when Steve Zissou gives a tour of his bat is actually the theme of the Royal Tenenbaums played backwards. In the movie The Grand Budapest Hotel, all of the workers behind the front desk of the 1930 set hotel in the fictional European nation of Zabrowska were actually employees of the hotels the crew patronized while scouting locations and shooting the movie. They were the actual people there. So there are your few for Wes Anderson. I don't want to say that that's a cheap shot. She's using the same one twice in a row. Maybe she was packing for this little trip to Montana she has, but come on. You couldn't think outside the box a
But
little
that's
bit,
what you
Carly?
guys did when you first started. You both had the same people that you champion each
Every
week.
week, yes.
Our
Yeah.
agreement was to change it up so that people weren't bored of Cumberbatch and Jennifer Lawrence, because we're obsessed, but maybe
I
not
see.
everybody else is.
Got it.
Now, on the other hand, I continued my redhead theme.
Aha.
This little beauty is 5'4", left-handed and redhead. This is Carly's dream girl right here. Okay. Her only vice is cheese. And she was considered for the role of Ryan Stone in the movie Gravity, but Sandra Bullock ended up getting cast for it. She has a twin brother who is 3 minutes younger than her.
Okay.
And her favorite movie is Heat, the 1995 one, which is a great movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good movie.
And that would be the lovely Scarlett Johansson. Yes. And the last fact, now that you know is her, shortly after Lost in Translation, Scarlett said she had a connection to older men and couldn't see herself dating anyone under 30. So I don't know.
I'm not under 30.
I don't know what.
Just put that out there.
I don't
right
know what
here.
Bill Murray had over her and had her obsessed with, but but yeah. So there you go. I was very I loved her in Lucy and then in Don John and Lost in Translation too. So yeah,
The Avengers.
and the Avengers. Yes.
And the leather that didn't hurt.
Delicious and a natural redhead too.
Yeah,
I
and
found out about
she
that.
was in a movie that wasn't really popular that I loved called In Good Company with Dennis Quaid and Topher Grace. Have you guys
Okay.
seen that? Oh,
don't know if I have.
it's a great movie. It's all about how the younger generation is taking over for the older generation, but they don't care about anything. It doesn't mean anything to them. And it's Dennis Quaid does sales for this magazine, and then this big conglomerate corporation takes over it, so they bring in all their young guys. So Topher Grace is swept in, and he's actually becomes Dennis Quaid's boss, even though he's old enough to be his son. And then he starts dating his daughter. And so there's this awkward moment where he's over at their house and he's getting to know his daughter, and they're playing ping pong in the back, and he calls them in for dinner, and he's like, "Come on in, kids," and then he stops as he realizes that's his boss.
That's his boss. He's saying kids
Yeah.
too.
So
No, I've not seen
yeah,
that
and
in
so
Good
he's
Company.
taking these guys to Jay-Z concerts, trying to sell them on ad space, and he ditches the concert to go talk to Dennis Quaid because he can't stand the music, and it's they just don't get it. So
Yeah.
it's a solid movie. It's good. In Good Company.
All right. Well, okay. Wes Anderson, Scarlett Johansson.
I gotta go with Wes Anderson. That Mordecai story is just awesome, and the Tenenbaum song backwards. That's and
That-
Scorsese's favorite movie is Bottle Rocket.
I know.
Something, yeah,
I know. That's hard to beat.
yeah.
But a redhead, I'm going to go with Scarlett.
Yes. I was gonna say, don't let me lose while Carly's not even
No, I'm
here.
gonna-
How horrible would that
I'm
be?
gonna go with Scarlett.
I'd throw in the towel at that point.
Yeah.
I'd bow down. All right, so it's another tie.
We got a
then.
tie.
All right, I will take another tie. So that's 2 ties. I got to talk to her and figure out what the actual score is, so we can start keeping score on our website or something.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right,
Running total.
I'll take it. Another tie. Thank goodness for that one. Oh, beautiful. All right. Well, that was a little bit. I'm okay now. I was really holding my breath.
You were nervous.
I was nervous.
You were.
I'm
I could
sweating
tell.
a
I could
little
see on your
bit.
face.
I think I need to go refill my whiskey. What are we
Carly,
doing?
if you're listening, that was awful close. He was nervous.
I really was nervous, Carly. Holy smokes.
So I thought we'd take a minute to sort of tease something we're going to do on our blog this month. I'm really excited about.
Okay.
So I don't know what it. So there's this resurgent, and I actually read an article about this recently. How retro TV is like really taking off, and there's like channel like originally there was like just Nick at Night, and that's like the only place you could go for like these old TV shows. And then they had the Nick at Night channel, and now that's whole TV Land thing's taken off. But now there's like MeTV
I was
and
just say, MeTV's got a whole lineup
15-2 here in Arizona, like some of these like secondary HD channels and stuff like that. There's like Retro TV and Hub on if you have cable or whatever. So there's like all these retro TV stations that are like springing up, right? All this great classic stuff. So I've been really getting into it, and so like I've sort of been like easing my way into it, just on Netflix and stuff like that. Like I'll be sitting at home and just start watching Wings or Knight Rider or something like that. So on my trip to Hawaii, they had in our little condo, they had a TV with a DVR and like cable, right? With like tons of channels, and they had like Showtime or one of those, whatever premium channels, whatever. Right. And my first thought is, I'm in Hawaii. I'm not going to watch this thing. I don't care if there's a TV in here. But then, after a few days, you come home after a long day of snorkeling, and you're burnt to a crisp, and you just want to lay down with something cold, and just kind of tune out, whatever. So. I found these like retro channels like MeTV and Hub and stuff like that. So Shereen and I actually sat down and we watched Alf, and we watched Wonder Woman, and we watched 2 episodes of the original Batman TV series, and a few things like that. And then I came home and put on Star Trek, the old Star Trek, and and stuff like that. So I personally, I'm really into this. Like, I'm just really having fun watching these old shows again. So we're going to spend the month of August, and we're all going to be blogging about shows that you can stream on Netflix or Amazon or somewhere,
or Hulu or whatever. Yeah.
So we all kind of pitched in. We all picked a different show, and we're going to try and do a couple blogs a week about different shows. So first up, I'm going to be blogging this week about Knight Rider.
Okay.
So I'm very excited about that.
Now,
awesome.
my question for you is, how are you watching like the pilot episode season 1 on? Are you just picking some random episodes, or how are you watching it?
So
What are you gonna do?
I picked a couple of shows that I've actually been watching lately.
Okay.
So I'm at least halfway through the first season of these. But I know we have a couple blog spots to figure out. Yeah, I might just throw it in a couple episodes, watch the pilot, watch a couple here and there. And then I would like Knight Rider. I've been reading up some stuff online for it. Like I didn't know, like the kit, it's a Trans Am, the Pontiac Trans Am that they modified. It cost them like $100,000 to put together. And of course, the trivia that everyone talks about is Mr. Feeney's actually the voice of Kit. Right. And so it's just reading up some stuff like that. So
well, the reason I'm curious is because I've done the same thing since we talked about this, of course. Yep. But I'm totally into this. Like, I'm finding more and more shows, and Lee Majors, who was in The $6 Million Man, which is a 70s show, he was in a show called The Fall Guy, which is all about stunts.
I love that show.
Yeah, and so I finally watched the season premiere episode of that. But the A-Team is what my first one's going to be. Yeah. I thought, man, I've seen every A-Team, every MacGyver episode ever. But then when I sat down, I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch, what would this be like if it was being premiered right now? I'm watching that season 1 pilot episode. Man, that show would not have lasted. Yeah, it's like it's such a different time frame, and so I'm giving it just like, hey, Netflix, I can binge watch it. I'm gonna watch a whole bunch of episodes and see. But it was one of those shows as a kid. I'm so fond of all these shows, but I watched random episodes, and it was just great adventure. I mean, MacGyver, Magna PI, A-Team, Fall Guy, all great adventure type shows. And a lot of fun. But if you watch it from episode to episode, I don't know, we'll see. But that's all. That's why I was curious, like, if you're going off of memory, if you're just picking some random episodes, if you're going to actually look at it from like the first episode, it's a very different such a different way of filming and editing and everything too. I mean, it's 30, 40-year-old TV.
What hooked me on The Fall Guy is in the beginning when they're sort of introducing all the characters before the story starts, and Heather, what's her name, comes out in that bikini.
That bikini, yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Oh,
I was like hooked at that point. I'm like, I just want to watch this. But then The Fall Guy, when you're young, like you said, it's like the coolest thing in the world. I mean,
he's a really movie stunt man. And
Yeah.
then he's going after
Doing all this
these
stuff.
criminals and stuff like that, and using his stunt
Right.
stuff he knows, and the people he knows in Hollywood, and such a fun show. So yeah. But I'm totally excited about this. This is a great idea, Jeff.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
And sticking with this 80s TV, even oh man, the intros, it's all the exact same font and stuff too.
I know,
It's so
yeah.
great. It so is.
It looks bad.
But it's a nostalgic thing. Yeah.
It is.
You know what would be interesting is, we're all sort of picking movies or shows that like we have, a childhood tie-in. And I know with this one, like especially with Knight Rider, I'm going to talk about my perception as a kid versus my perception see it now.
Right.
And how I loved it then and I love it now for two completely different reasons. But I think it'd be fun if we can squeeze it in somewhere to pick a show that we never watched in the 80s.
Ooh.
And so we try to watch it now, and so you can see if you can get into the show now. That
Yeah,
it's like,
right. Okay,
so
gotcha.
That might be kind of interesting.
Interesting. Okay. Would you be willing to let me pick your show?
I actually think that's a great idea
Okay.
because
Yeah.
you would know, oh, hey, you picked it, and because I picked something random, I don't know if I'm going to like it. You would know better than
Like,
a random. But yeah.
Yeah, I might. Okay.
I think we
I'll
should
do
do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll
All
pick
right.
two other shows.
Yeah.
Sammy, just in case you ever need late night watching,
Yes.
there is an entire YouTube 8-minute clip of Heather Thomas's best bits, and it's every time she's in a bikini on the
Yes.
show, The Fall Guy.
Yes.
And it's just over 7 minutes long.
I think you should share that on our.
While Jeff's doing film history, I'll be watching.
Can I come over there and look too?
Yeah, so that's what Sammy and I'll be looking at.
Boom.
Heather Thomas in a bikini on The Fall
Oh,
Guy.
yeah.
Yeah. So, all right,
Came
I
out
will.
through those little doors. Yep.
I'll pick a couple of shows out. I think it's a great idea to watch something you don't know anything about, though. Too.
Yeah, that is
just to
true.
see. So. Beautiful. So look for that
Yes.
every week. So what's our plan is?
the plan is a 2 a week.
2 a week.
Two a
That's
week.
right. Okay. Because I'm starting on my A-Team one, and you're starting on your
Knight Rider. Yeah,
Okay.
and then I'm also releasing at the first of every month. Netflix always releases a slew of movies, so they release a ton of actually really good stuff in August.
Yeah.
So I'm almost done with a post about my recommendations
All
for
the
this
Rockies, right?
Yeah.
All the
Yeah,
Rocky
all the
movies.
Rocky
Yeah.
movies are in there. Yep.
month. So yeah, it's fun. So okay, so film history. I will let you guys pick. I actually had these two things picked out for last week's episode, so I kind of themed them around improv. So we can do film history, which is I'm talking about some scenes that were improvised in movies, just kind of a list.
Okay.
Okay.
Or you guys, since we're short on time, or we can do the IMDb guessing game I invented, but it's based around sort of characters who like to improv. Or they're from Second City. That's it. They were actors from Second City that you have to guess. So what would you guys like to do?
I say film history about the scenes that were improv.
Okay.
I'd be interested in what
That'd be
else
mine.
scenes you get, because I was looking
Yeah.
up some too when Nate was here last time. So yeah, I'd be curious what you found out there.
Yep.
As far as improvised scenes go, which is a fascinating list. I'm sure.
Okay, so the first one is the pretty famous one, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Is the scene when Harrison Ford, he's fighting the guys, and the guy jumps out, and he does all the sword karate moves, and then Harrison Ford just pulls out his gun and shoots him.
Mm-hmm.
So this one is kind of legendary that there was supposed to be a big fight scene there, but Harrison Ford was really sick. I think he had pneumonia or something. I can't remember, but he was like just really sick, so they couldn't get through this whole fight scene. So Harrison Ford was like, "Why don't I just shoot him?" And so they did that to get around there, and it worked better than a big fight
It was a
scene.
great, yeah.
Another one of my favorites is in The Dark Knight. I read a couple different versions of how the story actually happened, so I'm not exactly sure which is the truth, but basically the story is Heath Ledger playing the Joker. It's when he walks away from the hospital and the bomb's going off. And so there's sort of like the little explosion, and then he stops and shakes the box and taps it, and then the big explosion goes
Right.
off behind him, and he's kind of messing around. So the baseline is that was not in the script. One story says the explosion was supposed to all happen at once, And so part of the explosion went off, and Heath Ledger did that little bit, and then it went off, and it just worked perfectly. And another one said that there was supposed to be a gap, but he was supposed to hop on the bus, or do something else right there, and he just did that great little improv, which made it just beautiful, disturbing.
Yeah, exactly, disturbing, and the face, cool.
Sam, this one is for you.
Okay.
A little bit for me too. Aliens.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
All right. When my guy Bill Paxton, game over,
Game
man.
over, man.
He made that line up on the fly.
Really?
So, which is like one of the greatest sci-fi lines of all time.
It's great.
Game over, man.
That is good.
Have you guys seen The Usual Suspects?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That scene where they're in the lineup and they're all reading the line and bantering back and forth, and then they're farting and making all these jokes. All that's in the script was for them to say that line, and that was it.
That was it.
Yeah, that was it. And so they made up all that other crap. That's one of those things that's like I would have loved to have been on the set that day just to be screwing around with them.
For sure.
The Godfather, the best line in The Godfather, leave the gun, take the cannoli.
Mm-hmm.
When they're framing the guys for murder and they have the cannoli and they're leaving the gun. It's one of the best. For me, that's one of my all-time favorite lines in movies. And then it was made up on the spot.
Huh.
As was Jaws, you're going to need a bigger boat.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't realize that.
I didn't either.
And so was, of course, this is another famous one, Empire Strikes Back. I love you. Han Solo comes back with. I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought there was a trick question.
Okay. No. I thought someone was gonna say that. As was The Shining. Here's Johnny. That was made up.
Yep.
The whole Taxi Driver. You talking to me? That whole
Right.
thing was made up. As with in Full Metal Jacket, Ermey's whole
Yeah, that's right.
razzing the people. He got the part, and they wrote around like all the stuff that he sent to Scorsese apparently. Here's a JGL. This would have been for Carly and Steve. 50-50. Have you seen it?
No, I've not seen it. No.
It's good. It's great.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a great. Shireen and I loved it. It was a good balance of like comedy and drama. I got to laugh. She got to cry. It was a good movie. So, it's about JGL and he gets cancer, and so he shaves his head. Well, that wasn't in the script. I guess they were going through and like during filming, JGL was like, "I'm going to shave my head," and so they film it, and so you see, what's his name in the background laughing at him the whole time, and like I can't believe he's really doing this because it was real.
He was real.
He was really like,
actually...
"Oh my gosh, this is crazy."
Huh.
And then one of my favorites, Bill Murray in just about anything he does. Caddyshack. He improvised everything.
Mm-hmm.
Tootsie. All of his stuff was pretty much improvised with him and
More. No, I'm thinking more. Dustin
Hoffman. There you go.
yeah.
Yeah. So basically, all their stuff with that whole character, they just needed that character for him, so he just made up all this stuff, and they had actually tested and did some behind the scenes stuff. And then the last one, two more. When Harry Met Sally, I'll have what she's having.
That's a classic one.
Classic. And Annie Hall. Have you guys seen Annie Hall?
Not a long.
So it's this Woody Allen movie.
Right.
So he's at this party in like California. He's really out of his element, and they're passing around cocaine. And so he's just like passing it on to the next person, but he sneezes and the cocaine goes everywhere. That was improvised.
That was really
like
the sneeze was was a mistake type of
thing.
thing.
That's funny.
It was actually it wasn't. It was during a rehearsal actually.
Okay.
That happened, and then they just worked it into the
and it just was too good.
That's funny.
So there you go.
Nice.
That's a good one.
I always wondered that. Yeah. Because there's so many times that I think like, and I can't remember the most recent movie I watched. Oh, no, it was when I was watching like. Before sunrise, sunset stuff and everything, I was like, man, but that whole entire thing, they say it was scripted. So, I mean, that's just amazing writing. But I thought, man, this is like some of the dialogue, like, it's just, I feel like it's got to be improvised. But that might be because I'm so used to when we do films, we pick people who we know are going to really work well together and we work them together. Right. So it's just this real improvised stuff because I think that's so much better than what you can write. But honestly, there are some amazing writers out there. But That's really cool that all those improvised scenes. Yeah,
That is cool.
Yeah, like that. The short film that you and I, Steve and I, are actually previewing this short film that we've been working on all year to some fellow filmmakers. We kind of talked about it on the last show, but it was all improvised through me and Courtney and Steve and Carly were directing us as we went along. And you go back and watch it, and I kind of feel like I'm not a good enough writer to write the dialogue for that, and it was just out of. But it has this real kind of honest feel to it because it was improvised.
No, it really does. I tell you, and I gave Jeff kudos after we cut the scene. There's this end monologue almost that he has that was just so perfect. Like, and I've known Jeff for a really, really long time, and I was like. I mean, it was beautiful to me, you know? Okay. And so it was just, and that's what it was. Like, he was so into this character, and like, I don't know where he went to in his head or anything like that, but what spewed forth was so good. Like, it had to have been written by Steve. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
I was channeling you. I
gotta take credit for it.
Yeah. So, no, so anyways, those improvised scenes, I'm surprised there's not more of those out there. But, I mean, stuff is so scripted. You're not going to let some actors just go at it and waste film time or anything like that doing stuff.
Yeah, and it's so hard, especially when you have when you have like one camera set up and you have to redo the lightings and one person improvised one way and then you turn around the camera and then you have to remember what they did. So it doesn't really work unless you're doing like a multi-camera thing, and then it's still rough. But
Right. Well, I have some second base.
Yeah, all right.
Some dark stuff. Let's go. Do you have any speed rounds, Jeff? Or
I didn't even do my film history music.
Right. Oh no! Do we need to do
an
epilogue?
I was realizing that, but I'm like, okay, he's going with it, so no big deal.
It's again the live show.
The live show. I started it all.
Is this all because Carly's not here?
It is.
Did we just
throwing us off?
What's throwing us off? Is the kink in the chain here? Is the missing loop? Wow.
I think it was the comment about keeping it up.
Keeping it up, and now there's this pressure.
That threw us all off.
And we were just, because, I cannot perform under pressure like that.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
That's the first thing a girl says to you. It's going to be hard to perform.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm
so really, it's not that we're missing her; it's we're blaming this on her because of this. I don't want to give her too much credit.
But
right. It's not okay.
It was her comment.
Okay,
that's what it was.
Comment. All right, good.
So on that, second base for $1.
Let's see if we can get there.
This is a little segment we like to call "How to Get to Second Base for $1." Oh yeah!
All right, Jeff. I picked dramas for both of these.
Ooh,
and this first one is dark. More than likely not going to get you to second base, but it is about a relationship, and it's about life. And so I actually enjoyed it. And it's called The High Cost of Living with Zach Braff. It was a independent movie that came out in 2010. So the whole plot is Isabel Blyce plays this pregnant woman who she's really, really amazing in this. And she's done a bunch of Canadian stuff. But Zach Braff is this drug dealer in Canada. He's an American in Canada, deals in prescription drugs is what it is, and at parties and stuff. He hits her, and she's pregnant. She wakes up in the hospital, and the baby's dead. But it's too traumatic for her. She has to recover from her injuries, so she has to live for a couple of weeks with this stillborn baby in her, that alone, because I've had to deal with that personally, is like just a mental thing. But she does an amazing job of getting that across and how emotional that is. And then what happens is Zach's character, he wants to know what happened to her because he called in the 911 call and everything like that and then just left. So when he finds this out, he shows up where she's at this bar and ends up befriending her. And they end up having this amazing relationship, and then she finds out that it was him that hit her, and there's this little bit of a blow up, and then at the end, when it's finally time where she's got to have this stillborn baby, he's there. And did you see The Last Kiss, Jeff?
No.
With him? So a lot of people didn't like that movie either with him because it was more of this dramatic thing. It was not the fun Garden State type of thing.
Right.
But at the end of it, there's a scene, and it's the same exact scene here. And he didn't write this or anything, I don't think, at all. So, but he sees her, he talks to her, he walks out the door closes, and that's just like the end of it. Like, it's very open to where you don't know if they're going to continue with this relationship or this friendship, or if he was just there because he promised he would be there when she had to have this happen, you know. And now that she found out that he's the one that caused this, you know, all that. But the last kiss was the same way. When he tries to go back to who was his fiance or his wife, there's a scene where he's just sitting there at the porch at the door, and it's raining and all this stuff, and eventually she opens the door up, and, you know, does she invite him or does she not? And it's just cut. It's end credits. You don't know what happens, you know, and so it's left up to your imagination, and it's to whatever your point is in the relationship you're currently in, to be honest. Like, the last kiss and this are both the same thing, you know. You can put yourself to where, yeah, you're going to forgive, you're going to move on, or you're going to be hurt by it, and you're not going to continue the relationship. So it's not something that's going to necessarily get you to second base, but it's a very, I mean, it was a very just like tragic movie. And so there was one point, I mean, this was an odd character for Zach to play this drug dealer, but there was one point where he's with her and trying to get her to smile, and he tries on hats, and it's instantly the Scrubs Zach Braff that you know and love, you know, type of thing. When he's trying his hats, he's being playful and stuff, and it's like that character you've always loved of him. So so that was
High Cost of Living.
That was The High Cost of Living.
And where did you see it?
Netflix.
Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. But the one, and again, this drama is a darker drama because of what the film is about, but this one's pretty good, actually, and this is called The Last Word, and this is older, 2008. But the main character that is played by Wes Bentley, and he is a very gifted poet. He uses his talents to write suicide notes for people who are planning on killing themselves.
Gosh,
He's got a whole
dark.
website. It's very dark, that subject matter. The great thing is his current client who does this whole thing is Ray Romano. And it's a great character. Ray Romano plays this musical composer who failed horribly, and he now is composing pretty much corporate elevator music. But he composes, like, it's just amazing other music he does on the side. So there's some of their relationship and how Ray Romano, if he does or doesn't commit suicide, and his plan is to jump off of a bridge. Well, anyways, he writes a suicide note for this one guy, and then he always goes to the funerals when they read the note. The notes are so poetic that the pastor that's doing the funeral service reads it, and it's his last thing he wanted to be said. And so he'll watch the funerals happen, and he'll take notes on reactions for the next time he's got to write it. I mean, it's just his business. This is what he does. And so the guy's sister is played by Winona Ryder and notices him, and so follows up and goes and confronts him, and he lies to her saying that, I knew him at college. And so there's this relationship that the two of them create, and eventually, just like with The High Cost of Living, she finds out that he wrote that whole suicide note, and that's what he does. He tells her he's writing screenplays and stuff like that.
Right.
And so, and again, the ending is one of those ones where I won't give anything away, but it ended really, really well. Like, it was a very fun ending, and having to do with Ray Romano and these dreams and what they ended up doing with themselves. But it's dark because of the fact that he writes these suicide notes for people, these love poems. But there's a good Ray Romano, even though he's a suicidal one, he's a good help character. And Ray Romano plays, like, when he's suicidal, he was like, it was dark, but then he also is his Ray Romano kind of funny self too in some of these scenes. So
there was some kind of dark comedy to it?
It was a dark comedy to it. Yeah, no, this is a dark comedy romance is what this was.
Okay.
You know, because the two of them, Winona Ryder and Wes Bentley, were definitely, you know, falling in love, and she's like this very free spirit type person, and she is up on a rooftop with him at one point. She's like strips down the Nuck thing and everything with all these offices around him, and he's freaked out by that, doesn't know what's happening, and they end up having sex on a rooftop. And she's just a huge free spirited person, and he's this quieter, darker, this is what he does type of thing. He just deals with people who are going to kill themselves. That's all he really knows. So he's a dark person, but in the end, he grows into this thing that actually makes him happy. And it's kind of cool because throughout the thing, when he's talking to clients and he's writing and stuff, you never see him like smile or truly happy, but he finds this thing that ends up being happy, and it has to do with Ray Romano. And to be completely honest, and if this is a spoiler alert, here it is. I don't even think he ends up with Winona Ryder in it, because she finds out and he and Ray Romano end up doing this business together, and it's just great. And so it's this great like story of growth. They don't necessarily end up together, but he finds his place in the world, and it's not writing suicide notes. So.
Wow.
Yeah, but The Last Word, I actually of the
Last Word.
The Last Word, I would say watch it. I just want to know if anybody else was entertained by it as I was when it was this dark romance comedy thing. Yeah,
And
so.
it was where'd you see it?
Netflix.
Netflix
This
as
was
well?
also a
Okay.
Netflix thing, and it premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in 2008. Yeah. And,
Okay, so it's a few years old.
Yeah, so it's a few years old. Yeah, that one's older. The High Cost of Living was 2010. So, yeah, but those are my ones. So they're darker ones, but kind of cool, like just life type things.
Right.
So it's definitely something that could spark a conversation with a relationship. I'm not going to say because you're not going to get to second base. If you do, she's kind of dark too. You might want to not be in a relationship.
Right.
I don't know. So if she's into that, I don't know. So
Yeah, so I guess the other takeaway is if you are stereotyped in a very popular TV series as a comic, you need to do something very, very, very dark and independent.
there you go. Yep. And I was surprised, and he did a great job. Yeah. And he's a great, like, just sarcastic character too. And he's all about the suicide, but he critiques the guy gives rough drafts. So like when he takes your notes, he wants to know what you like, what you don't, all this stuff. And he writes a poem and he gives it to you. And then he has a week for you to get back to him with notes because it's a rough draft. And the final one will be in about a month. You know, so these people who are going to commit suicide, it's not like they're instantly going to. It's like there's time to think about this. And it's a whole process that this guy has down and stuff. And he's got a website and stuff too. So it was a very interesting. I enjoyed it though. Very interesting story. Yeah.
Wow.
So there you go. Those are my second base movies. Good luck.
Yeah. Good luck getting to second base with those movies. Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
So, all right. I didn't have a speed round. You said you didn't either?
I wrote some, but
You
we
wrote
don't
some?
have to do them.
Okay, well, you want to speed around me and Sammy or something? Or?
All right, sure.
All right, because we need that upbeat. I feel like we need some more punk music. Maybe we just end this on death.
It's it's really hard to end on no suicide notes.
No,
Yes.
let's never end a podcast on suicide
No.
notes. Let's just not do that.
All right.
All right.
All right, I was since I was in Hawaii this week, I was writing questions about Hawaii. So, you guys ready?
Ready. I'm
me.
ready
All
as
right.
I'll be.
All right, so I'll just shoot the question. You guys both shoot me back an answer.
Deal.
All right, you're going to Hawaii. You want to go with a girl or you want to go film in a movie?
Girl. Whoa, yes.
So we start off
We
with
weren't
an
even looking at each other there. That
start
was
off with an
great.
easy one. Okay, so you're not with a girl. You're actually filming a movie.
Oh, come
Are you
on.
filming a romantic comedy or Jurassic Park?
Jurassic Park.
Very good. All right, let's see if it continues. Snorkeling or parasailing?
Snorkeling.
Okay. Starting to get off a little bit. Okay. Hawaiian movie. Adam Sandler in 50 First Dates, Owen Wilson in The Big Bounce, or Vince Vaughn in Couples Retreat, which was actually Tahiti. But
Owen Wilson.
Big bounce.
Yeah.
yeah, okay, Big
same
Bounce,
one.
yep,
All
all
right,
right.
very good. Yeah, Steve, I know it's just because of number 9.
Yes.
But, all right. So you're watching a movie on the way to Hawaii. Do you watch Bad Words, The Grand Budapest Hotel, or Noah?
I'd watch Bad Words.
Yeah,
Bad Words and
probably.
then
Bad
Grand
Words.
Budapest.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys are still same answers. You're just getting off a little bit.
We're out
Okay.
of phase.
Out of phase a little bit.
of
Okay.
sync.
So surfboarding documentaries. Love them or there's way too many of them?
Love them.
Way too many.
Oh,
there we go. We found the one. Love them.
Way
All
too
right.
many.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Okay. So here's the bonus question to that. How long does it take you to name a surfing movie? Go.
In God's Hands.
Oh, gosh.
Blue Crush.
There's so many, yeah.
Endless Summer.
I don't even know the name of any because I put them out of my head.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. So you have your vacation home in Hawaii. Is it a condo on the beach or a secluded home in the jungle?
Condo on the
Condo
beach.
on the beach.
Very good. All right. We're back in sync here.
All right.
And last question. Have you ever used the word mahalo?
Yes.
Yes.
All right,
Right, yeah, liking it. That is a good way to end a podcast right there.
I like that.
All right, and except for surf movies, right? That's the only thing we don't agree on. So
that was kind of weird because we were not looking at each other at all or anything, and it just like
Oh,
there was the spontaneity of it all just came out.
Like it. All right, now that is the way you end a podcast.
I like that,
folks. I hope you enjoyed our lack of Carly. And Carly, I hope we kept it up enough for you.
Yeah, Carly, we hope it was good for you too.
Yeah.
All right, thanks everybody. We have a great week.
The 12A podcast is produced by 12A Productions and distributed by the 4-Eyed Radio Network. To learn more about the podcast or to see what other projects the 12A team is working on, check out 12aproductions.com.
All I can think about is number 9 in her bikini in the big bounce now.
Oh, yeah.
This has been another great presentation by the 4-Eyed Radio Network. You can find more information at 4eyedradio.com.